there, Kimberly Flanagan of Kimberly's Quilts. So I got a phone call the other day from one of my students from when I used to teach in person at a little shop up in Pennsylvania, and they wanted to know about how did I teach them to make this little bag. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is a little bag that I found the directions on how to make on YouTube many years ago. I went to try and find it, cannot find it, so otherwise I would give credit where credit was due as to who the creator of this design was, but it was a YouTube video that I watched, and they used to do charity projects at the end of my classes. We did pillowcases, we did all kinds of various things that we would give to an organization out there that helped needy or at-risk kids. So this was a little drawstring bag, and it's really easy to make, and it's got a little pocket on the front and a pocket on the back and a totally lined inside, and it's just a really cute drawstring bag that they could use for whatever they wanted. Used to make these for my daughter's volleyball team when she played on the travel volleyball team. They could put their little things in here so that they didn't have to carry all their backpacks and equipment around with them between matches. If they needed to go to the bathroom, if they needed to go to the snack bar, if they just could walk around with this instead of all of their other stuff. And I used to monogram on this little flap. There are numbers so that each girl knew whose was what. But just a cute little drawstring multi-purpose. I actually have all of my little red things for my red snappers in this one, but I have several of these around my sewing room. So she wanted to know, could I tell her how I made this, because she's getting ready to make some for one of her quilt guilds. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have instructions on how to make this. I have my cheat sheet from teaching that I have, but I don't think she could read this and follow it because only I can understand my madness here. So I told her I'd make a quick video. And so I will put this online and you can download it if you want. Again, these are my crude teaching notes, but then you can use this as a starting point to add your notes to help you with whatever you need to add from the demonstration here. All you need are fat quarter friendly, let me tell you, because if you ever have those odd fat quarters that you want to get rid of, this is the thing to do. So we start with 2 squares of fabric that are 17.5 inches square. When I cut these with the right sides together for 2 reasons. First of all, those of you that know me know that I'm lazy. So once I put these right sides together and I cut them, I know that they're both the exact same size. So even if I've gotten it slightly off and one of them's 17.5 and the other one's not going to be 17.25 or 5/8 or something. So I put them together, right sides together, so that when I take them to the sewing machine, they're ready to stitch. They're already in the right direction. So 2 17.5 inch squares, perfect for a fat quarter that's usually 18 by 22. So get those fat quarters out, ladies. Then you also will need 2 sections of ribbon cut to a minimum 24 inches. Slightly longer if you want. The other thing that I often use is if you, then it's purchased on a roll just like your ribbon is, but it's that thin cording. That's also very good use in here as well. But 2 pieces of that, and you'll see why in a minute. So we start out by taking your 2 pieces, putting them right sides together, and I'm going to turn the cameras and face it down. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2 pieces of fabric and I am going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the edge all the way around, and I am going to leave a section large enough to turn it open. Okay, then I'm going to, what I normally do is I normally put a start of a press in here, so that when I turn this, this will turn down nice and straight and crisp. Then I use my turning tool here. Ladies, this is just from a Chinese store. It's just a chopstick. I got 2 of them because I stole the set of chopsticks. But just turn it, and I use the chopstick to get my corners out so that I got nice pointed corners. As you can see, I trim the corners. Okay. turn this so that it's right side out. And I use my chopstick on all 4 of my corners to make sure that I get them all the way out. And you'll see on here, your point, it's okay if you don't get it nice and pointy, but because this is like a decorative corner of your bag, I think it just helps if you've got it turned all the way out. So I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to press this. Now by me pressing that one side on the inside before I brought this over, it makes it really easy to give you a nice crisp edge there, and to press this so that none of it's laying down in the middle. If you have an issue with it sometimes what I call getting lost in there, what I do is I just take my fingers and I will roll it back and forth until I have that seam right there on the edge, and then I can do a nice crisp seam. So I do that all the way around, and then I will take this to the sewing machine and I will top stitch all the way around the edges, if you can see that there. And what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 things. I'm giving it a nice little decorative edge, but I'm also closing up where it was open, so now it's closed all the way around. So at this point, you have to decide which side do you want to be your inside fabric. In this one it's the light pink. And which one do you want to be your outside fabric? This one it's the dark pink. So I want this to be my inside fabric. This pink, kind of solidish, but it's not solid. So this is now 17 inches square. It's okay if it's not exactly 17 inches. Don't stress over it. This is supposed to be a fun, no stress project. So I then will take a ruler, and I can do one of 2 things. I can either take a chalk. I like to use Taylor's chalk for this, and I can mark it down through here, down through my center. Okay. Or I can fold this over and press it so that I have a nice seam down through there. It doesn't matter which way you do, you just need to make sure that you know where your center is. Then using my ruler and using that line, I will then go 4 inches out on either side and mark. Now you can mark with this, or now I got 4 inches on the other side, so I'm going to come here and do 4 inches. Or I can use straight pins at my corners, whichever you prefer. I prefer the chalk, it just works better for me, but just know that this is just a temporary mark, so you just need to know where your start and stop point is. So here's my blue line on this side. At this point, I now have 3 blue lines down through there. I hope you can see that. I then will fold this one in using my edges as a guide, or my marks as a guide. I'm going to fold that one in, and then I just give it a little press to keep it in sight. Now I've marked on the inside and I've used chalk, so it's going to be completely okay. It's going to easily just go away with my finger. Then I go on the other side, doing the exact same thing with the blue lines. As you will see, they overlap. Okay, so I'm going to now press this one down. Now I have these little points here. I bring these in, but if you can see here, let me show you on this end. I bring these points in, but I don't bring them all the way down. I leave a little bit of a gap in here so that I can see that background fabric. I'm creating this effect right here with this. So if I bring these in and I leave a little bit, I then will press this. And I do the same thing at the other end, leaving the same little gap because I want that contrasting accent fabric to show through. So now I have what I call my envelopes and then my solid side. At this point, I will come and I will use my ruler, and I now need to make the little channels for my ribbon. So I will come in here and I will mark a 1/4 inch in from the edge. And I'm going to put my glasses on so that I make sure I get this, because this is where your ribbon's going to go in this little channel. So I'm going to mark here with my chalk. And then I'm going to come down 3/4 inches from there, so it will be an entire inch from the edge, and I make another mark. Now, if you want to use the thicker ribbon, which you can, it's totally up to you, just make sure that you add another like 1/4 inch or so to this little channel so that your ribbon goes through easily. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to make a channel that's a 1/4 inch. And then using the 1 inch on my ruler so that I have a 3/4 inch channel there. And the last line I need to do is I need to take this and I need to fold it in half. I need my top sides together and my edges together. And I need, what I do here usually is press it. I need a nice crisp mark in the center. Then I can come back here, and if you can't see that pressing line enough, you can put another mark, or you can just use that as your guide. Now, I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine and I'm going to show you how I assemble this so that with just these few seams it becomes this bag. So, meet you over at the sewing machine. Okay, now we're back at the sewing machine, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to stitch this center line that's either your press seam or your chalk line, whichever you want. And I do tend to back stitch at the beginning and end of this, just because I want to make sure this seam doesn't come out. Now, I want to make sure that that does not get turned up, that point doesn't get turned under. Now, this to me is one of the most important seams on this bag, because if I had not stitched this down, this little pocket here that I'm creating would have gone all the way through. I want to make sure that it doesn't go all the way through, so that anything that I put in this side doesn't go through and come out on the back side. So that's what this seam is doing. If you don't put it in there and you skip it, you're going to have a pocket that goes all the way through from front to back. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to stitch on both of these blue lines up here. And I do the same thing. I do back stitch. I want to make sure these stitches don't come undone. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a high contrasting thread in here and let your thread be part of the bling on this. In this case, I'm using a light pink thread that's matching. but that's up to you. I could have put a bright orange, I could have put a bright red, but if I would have done that, I would have done that on all of my seams so that they all added to the project. Now I'm going to spin it around and do the same thing on this side. Okay, last step. I have these all stitched. Now I will fold this up so that my right sides are together and my top is even. Okay, and then what I do is I stitch, and from years of doing this, I stitch from the top down. If I stitch from the bottom up, I sometimes will maybe have the fabric shift a little bit on me, and then my top's not even anymore. So I come in here and I line everything up, and using the edge of my presser foot, I come in here and I do back stitch. Oops, I hit the scissors, guys. Don't do that. I do come in here and back stitch. And I back stitch at the bottom again. This time cut my thread. Now I come over and I do the same thing on this other side. I make sure that my top and my side is lined up, and I switch stitch from the top down again. Back stitching at the beginning. Now I can either come in here and I can do, I like to box my corners. So in order to box my corners, all I have to do is come in here, and in the bottom, I open it up. Still right sides together, but I put my hand in here to make sure that the seams are going to the right sides. And then I come in here and I just measure over an inch. Okay, and I have a ruler here, and I can tell where an inch is. You can do a half an inch, you can do a full inch. I usually do an inch, but however big you want your box to be. So I'm going to come here and kind of put a mark right there. I'm going to make sure that everything on the inside is moved to the side. Remove my pen. And then I do the same thing on the other side. What I'm doing now is I'm creating this boxed corner. If you don't want a boxed corner and you want it to just be straight and flat, that's fine too. Technically, that wasn't a part of the original pattern, but I just like making it a little boxier so I could sit it like this. Otherwise, it doesn't, it kind of lays on its side. So again, I'm going to come over, and none of this is 100% precise, guys. This is just eyeballing it. Okay, then I'm going to come in here, put my presser foot down, remove my pen. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut these corners off. just because I don't want all that bulk in my bag. Now, this is going to go in the trash. Yes, I do have a trash can under there. Now, I have my bag. I got my nice little box corners. It's going to sit nice and pretty for me. All I have to do now is come in and using my whatever technique you would like. I don't know how you like to feed your ribbons through, but you'll see I have my little pocket on each side. I can use a safety pin. I can use one of those ribbon turners. I actually have a long 12-inch locking clamp that I like to use. Get it out of its package so I can show you how I use it. This came from Harbor Freight. I can actually put it right through here. Grab my ribbon and then pull my ribbon through. Now, I want to pull this ribbon all the way through, and then I want to come in the other side and pull the ribbon through again. Because this is a drawstring bag, guys, I need it to go through both sides. Okay. Now, I usually line up my ends here and pull it straight. And then what I like to do is I like to come back in here, and this was not a part of the original pattern either, is I separate that seam on the inside, and then I come in here and I just tack this in place with a few tacking stitches right in that seam, because I do not want this ribbon to come out. Now that ribbon is attached. Now I'm going to use my other 24-inch, and this time I'm going to do it from the opposite side. I'm going to put my clamp in this way, and I'm going to get the end of it and bring it through this side. Then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And now this time I'm going to match up these ends, pull them even, and do the same thing that I did before, opening up this seam on the inside and tacking this ribbon in place. This time I make sure that I get all of these tails out of the way, because I don't want to stitch those down. So now I'm going to come here and put these in place. And there you have it, guys. You got a drawstring bag with two little pouches on it, little decorative point, and it's that quick. I think I did this in 30 minutes or less, and that included videotaping and all of that at the same time. If I'm going to do a lot of these, I just do assembly line. But now, if you want, you can tie these ends together to make sure they don't come out in just a little knot. You can leave them open if you'd like, whatever your little heart desires, because this is your bag and you can do with it what you want. But as you can see on this one, I just tied little knots, and I'll do the same over here, and you are finished. Got a ton of things that you can use these for. Actually made this knowing full and well that I was about to put my container of binder clips in it. This has gotten to the point that the lid doesn't stay on very well, so I'm going to put all of my binder clips right in here, and I have a nice cute little carrier, and there you have it. I hope you guys go try this and come up with all kinds of little creative ways. Sometimes when I travel, we'll put like my jewelry in one of these. I made one where the inside, where it was made of like velveteen, so that I could put my jewelry in there. Just know that the outside fabric is what's going to be, or your dominant fabric is what's going to be on the outside. The only thing that's going to show at the end of this from your inside complementary fabric is this little piece right here. So if you're going to do something like I did with to carry jewelry, the outside fabric, the pretty fabric, is what you need to make the velveteen out of, because it's going to be on the inside and the outside of your bag. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you go make some. If you do, post some pictures, let me see. I'm on social media on Facebook as Kimberly's Quilts, on Instagram and Pinterest as well. Would love to see what you create for them. Thank you.